Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 4, Episode 18, No Regrets. This was honestly my favorite episode so far inside of this crazy framework HYDRA world, and I think they did a great job throughout the entire episode. We get to see Mac officially working with, this alternate version of S.H.I.E.L.D. We get to see Daisy and Radcliffe as they are kind of trapped within HYDRA cells, and the torture that they go through with Ada coming in, and it's she's trying to explain things to Daisy like I can make your world better, if you just tell me what's going on with this version of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'll bring back Lincoln. Radcliffe, he's just getting tortured, and he's just having a terrible freaking time. Like, he lost Agnes. His whole framework idea has been completely corrupted from what it was meant to be, and he's probably not too worried that he's going to die, but I feel like he is a little bit. I mean, he's got a lot of things going on now, so he might not be thinking immediately about death, but it's just nuts. Like, everything that happens in this episode is really, really good. We have Gemma going through some crazy stuff because, of course, she sees hope, and it's like, holy crap, this is the daughter that Mac never had, and that's when things start to matter for her as far as all these digital characters that don't really mean anything, these ones and zeros. And it's like, man, that makes a difference, because we don't know how this is going to play out. When they all escape, I assume that they're all going to have these memories of this alternate world, and for the characters that were actually trapped within it, outside of, Gemma and Daisy, everyone, I would assume, is going to have these actual memories of this entire super long fake world and the things they did. Like, it's probably going to affect Fitz because he killed a woman in cold blood. It's probably going to affect pretty much everyone who was an actual villain. And so far, the only people that weren't villains, were pretty much outside of S.H.I.E.L.D. except for Mace, who sadly ends up dying in this episode, which is absolutely insane. Like, they did about 4 crazy things, which was, we saw Fitz's dad, who I like that actor. He always plays a villain. So when I first saw him, I was like, oh, they got another British dude. And I was like, oh, it's his dad. So we get to see Fitz's dad. We lose Mace, which is pretty nuts. We get to see Trip, which is really awesome. And by the end of the episode, they actually have, like, the one thing that started this whole crazy world, which was Mace saving this little girl. I love that that was what turned her into a hero in this alternate reality, because that was her whole thing, where it was like, she saw that these kids were in this base, and it's like, why are there children here? Like, that's always been her big thing, is that she wants to save the young, innocent lives. That's always been, like, the crux of her character, that she wasn't able to do it in the past, and that affected her, in the real world, and it really changed her up in the alternate world as well, where she saved the kid, but that kid ended up being, ended up being a danger to others. So it was very cool the way that they did that, because I was like, that makes sense. That is, like, the crux of her character. That one moment is what defined her entire life. Like, the conversation between Radcliffe and Daisy, whereas, like, one moment can't change things. It's like, it certainly can. Like, even one sentence could. So I thought that was really great that after all this stuff had happened in this alternate reality, when she found out that HYDRA was working on kids, with her being especially, where she was, and not knowing that there were ever children in this facility, it basically changed her back into a hero. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. It wasn't like a convoluted sort of thing where I was like, oh, that doesn't seem to work. I was like, nope, that makes the most sense, because that has always been, like, the heart of her character. Even though we don't have that come up too often, her and kids is like, that's like her number one thing, where she wants to save, young lives. So it was great how they did it. And, they have this ending where basically everyone has to team up, and they save this kid, and they want to save Mace, but sadly they can't. And I was really hoping, I was like, maybe he'll get crushed, but he won't be, like, dead crushed. He'll just be stuck in there, and it's like, it's that sort of thing where it's like, oh, he could survive for, a day or 2 days or whatever without food and water. He would just be really weak. But they would solve all those problems before he would die in this alternate reality. And it's like, nope, they have Ada, walking down the line, looking at everybody, and they get to the flat line. And I was just hoping, I was like, man, I really hope it's not like that, and maybe he's weak, but he's still alive or something. But it was like, nope, it's a flat line. And it was just sad. I was like, man, they actually killed someone off in this alternate reality. And that's going to be really crazy. Like, once again, with Fitz, he's like the one character, well, no one remembers, but he's also a villain in this world. So it's like, it's going to have the biggest impact on him and May, I would assume. But man, it was just nuts. And they kind of did what they always do. I mentioned this, I think it was at the end of last season. They always do this. if anyone dies, it's always the new character. They did that for like the last 3 seasons. It was, obviously it was Mace this time. The last time it happened was Lincoln. And before that, it was actually Trip. He was the newest character. The only person that's come in that hasn't died has been Mac. And I think it was like, he was in like that perfect transition where when he came in, it made sense for his character to live because he didn't go out on missions. When he first started off, he was just the engineer. He was always in the base. So it was like, it's kind of hard to kill that character off. It just made sense for him to constantly survive. And every time somebody else comes in, there's just always something going on. And you know, new characters keep taking on these bigger roles, and especially with Mace, I'm not really surprised at all, but they keep it going. It's like every time a new freaking character comes in, and they kind of went full circle a little, because it's like, hey, here's Trip, the first guy that was added to the team that was killed off, and here's Mace, the last guy added to the team, and who, you know, he's now killed off. But it was just really crazy. It was awesome to see Trip, you know, the second character we had come back after Ward, so that was a nice little surprise. But man, it was just a nuts episode when we got to that second half. We got to see a cool fight between Mace and May, which even then I was, you know, kind of worried. I was like, man, if they actually go at each other, they could legitimately kill each other because they are enemies in this world. They don't know the truth. And of course, if one of them dies here, then they will die in the real world. And I was like, that could legitimately happen because they're just fighting against each other, and they, you know, it's kind of a fight to kill sort of thing. At least it was for May, and even Mace mentions that, like, if I was like just a terrorist and stuff, I would have killed you. Like, I wouldn't be walking away to leave you alive. So I was like, all right, they, you know, they passed that portion, and they both end up surviving. Because I was like, there's no one there to stop them this time. It's not like Daisy's there or Gemma's there, you know, that, you know, could actually do anything. But you know, it keeps going, and then they get to the kids, and sadly Mace has to sacrifice himself for the children, and it's just nuts. It was like, wow, this is a really crazy way to kill off this character. It's not even the same person that we knew, and we even learned more about him in this episode because he's talking with Gemma where he's like, you know, you don't really know anything about me, never had kids, but I grew up in Brooklyn and stuff like that. And it was just interesting. I was like, man, that was such a crazy way to end this character where he is still the hero that we know from the real world, but he's a different type of hero because of the tragedy and loss that he's gone through. And it's just like, man, it makes it a bit more impactful in that regard, and just how weird it's going to be when everyone is taken out of the framework and they finally have all those memories. And for those of, you know, well, actually none of the characters worked with Mace. Like, none of them knew Mace outside of Ward, and of course he's dead, so it doesn't even make a difference for him. So no one even has those memories to be like, man, I, you know, worked with him in this alternate world as well. Everybody was kind of split up, except for, you know, the couple of characters that were thrown into HYDRA. So it's really crazy. It was a great episode. Of course, the ending was awesome where, you know, May goes back and she has like the Terrigen crystal, throws it down on the ground to help Daisy get her abilities, which I thought was weird because I was like, shouldn't that technically affect May as well? Like, it should like probably kill her because she just threw it on the ground. I was like, that's not how that works. Like, we've seen, like, the way they did it with her husband, he opened a book up and it was like, and he was dead, he was done for, and it was like he turned even into crystallization. So I was like, okay, that definitely should have affected her because she just slammed it on the ground. They both should have been affected, but it only affected Daisy for whatever reason. But I was like, whatever, it's not that big of a deal. It's just like, I feel like, you know, she threw like a giant chunk of crystal on the ground. They should both be affected. But Daisy goes through her transformation, so she's going to have her abilities in this next episode. I would assume they're going to save Radcliffe because, you know, him being the creator of the framework, it just makes sense to save him and then fight their way out. So I'm looking forward to that. Definitely looking forward to more Fitz and his father and getting a bit more in depth with their relationship. Because of course, with Fitz being evil, we see why he doesn't like his dad in the real world, because his dad is a bit of an a-hole where he's just the tough father character, and it's just like, you know, when he talks about his mom and him being uncertain, he's like, you know, that sounds like your mother. And when he apologizes, he was like, oh, there she is again. And I'm like, see, that's something you say when you don't like people being nice or, you know, apologizing. It's just simple stuff like that. It's like, I see why he doesn't like his dad in the real world, but they fit together perfectly in this world because they're both villains. So it's just like, man, can't wait to see how that plays out. I forgot who it was that said they knew his father in the past too. So I think it was Radcliffe actually. So I am excited to see how that may or may not play out, because I'm assuming he's been on the island the entire time since he was thrown into the framework. So he probably doesn't know that Fitz's dad is actually in his life now. So I'm curious to see how that interaction, plays out if we actually see that interaction. But really great episode. I don't know if we only have 20 episodes this season. When I was looking up the title for this episode, it showed that there were 2 more episodes on the list, and both of them are within this world. So this could potentially be for the rest of the season, like these last couple episodes, the whole half of the season. But I don't know. Regardless of how they do it, it's been amazing how it's going. So I am very curious what would ultimately happen once they kind of finish things up and they destroy the framework or don't destroy. I mean, I'm very curious how that's going to work out, because it's just like, man, do they completely wipe it out? Do they leave it? Especially with Radcliffe there, he's the only one that's there that would actually realize that everyone else would be taken out. Ward would still be there, but Radcliffe doesn't know Ward because he was dead. Trip, same thing, like Radcliffe didn't know him either. So it's just like, man, how in the world is this going to work? Or can they change the framework? Can he change it back and make it something perfect again, like what he wanted, and just wipe his memories and keep him, in like some sort of adamantium vibranium box so the framework never gets destroyed or something. So who knows? It should be pretty nuts. But this is a really great episode. Of course, would love to know what you guys thought about it. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, or least favorite parts. Every time I always ask, how do you guys feel about the death of the character in this episode? We lost Mace. He grew on me for sure. Started this, I hated him. Like all the characters do. It's just like, I don't trust this dude. I don't know what his deal is. He's working for S.H.I.E.L.D, but it seems like he doesn't want any of the characters to actually talk with each other and stuff, and the weird color coordinated levels and everything. And then as things continue on, he becomes a much cooler character where he's like, I wasn't really a hero. But I want to work to be. I'm not even an Inhuman, so that was a cool little twist with him. But despite his shortcomings as, the guy posing as this superhuman, he did everything that he could. Even when he didn't have his super strength, he would always act like it. When he knew he could get shot just straight in the face and it's game over, he would always do what he could. And it was like, man, he certainly grew as a character on me, and it's crazy to see him just go, beginning and end all in one season. So and in an alternate reality. So really crazy ending, but it always sucks to see a good character go, because especially for a character where it's like you hate them in the beginning, but they kind of have a redemption and you start to like them. It's like, man, it makes it even worse, because like, I was just starting to like this dude, and then they killed him off. So it sucks to see him go, but definitely a great character for sure. Excited to see how this changes things in the future. Will Coulson go back to being the director? Are they going to choose a new director? They mentioned early on in this season, there was like a passing mention that Daisy could have been the one to have done it, because she has the chops to actually lead S.H.I.E.L.D. So, maybe they'll kind of do that. Maybe they will follow some comic book stuff. So we'll see what happens there. But we have lost the current leader of S.H.I.E.L.D, the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. So we'll see where things head once they actually get out of the framework. But for now, they're still trapped in this crazy HYDRA chaos world. So a lot to look forward to. But of course, like I said, I want to know what you guys thought about the death in this episode. And of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know. And thanks for watching.